This is math lesson 8.2, uses multiplication. It says, how can the strategy draw a diagram help you solve division problems by writing a multiplication sentence? Unlock the problem. Erica makes 6 submarine sandwiches and cuts each sandwich into thirds. How many 1/3 size pieces does she have? What do I need to find? I need to find how many 1/3 size sandwich pieces? Okay, so let me get my eraser. Let me get my eraser a little larger. And I'll erase this. This is what you need to put. The number of 1/3 size sandwich pieces that Erica has after she cuts 6 sandwiches into thirds. What information do I need to use? I need to use the size of each piece of sandwich and the number of sandwiches she cuts. So pieces and sandwiches. How will I use this information? I can draw a diagram to organize the information from the problem. Then I can use the organized information to find the number of 1/3 size sandwich pieces Erica has after she cuts 6 sandwiches. Because Erica cuts 6 submarine sandwiches, my diagram needs to show 6 rectangles. To represent the sandwiches, I can divide each of the rectangles, 6 rectangles, into thirds. So you can see the black represents the sandwiches, the red represents the cuts into thirds. To find the total number of thirds in the 6 rectangles, I can multiply the number of thirds in each rectangle by the number of rectangles. Or you can say 6, we had 6 sandwiches, and we divided them into 1/3 pieces. So 6 times what? 3 equals 18 pieces. So she'll have 18 sandwiches. Erica has 18 1/3 size sandwich pieces. Now we're moving on to page 344. Try another problem. Roberto is cutting 3 blueberry pies into halves to give to his neighbors. How many neighbors will get a 1/2 size pie piece? What do you need to find? Okay, so the question is, what do I need to find? The number of neighbors that will get a 1/2 size pie piece. What information do I need? Okay, so the number of pies, and then he is cutting them into, okay, here it is in Word. I need to use the size of each piece of pie and the number of pies Roberto is cutting. How will I use this information? What's our strategy today? To draw a diagram to organize the information from the problem. Then I can use the diagram to find the number of neighbors that will get a 1/2 size piece of pie. So how will I use the information? I can draw a diagram to organize the information from the problem. Then I can use the diagram to find the number of neighbors that will get a 1/2 size pie piece. Okay, so now we're going to go to the diagram part on page 344. I can draw a diagram to organize the information. How many pies does Roberto have?
3.
3. So you need to draw 3 pies. Okay, after you've drawn your 3 pies, what are we going to do with our 3 pies? Okay, once you've done that, then you're going to cut your 3 pies in half. So how many half of pies do we have? Everybody
6.
cut their 3 pies. Cut your 3 pies in half. So how many neighbors will get a 1/2 size piece of pie?
6.
Okay, so since Roberto has 3 pies that he's going to divide in half, we can say that he is taking 3 pies. Each pie has 2 pieces, so he would have 6 pieces of pie to give away. Now the explain down at the bottom says explain how the diagram you drew for the division problem helps you write a multiplication sentence. So the explain at the bottom of the page, what they want to explain is how the diagram you drew for the division problem helps you write a multiplication sentence. The diagram showed 3 groups. Remember we had our 3 circles? Of 2 halves, and then we broke those circles into halves so that we have 3 groups of 2 halves. And so I can use multiplication to find the total number of halves in 3 groups. Okay, this is the Sharon Show on page 345. The problem is a chef has 5 blocks of butter. Each block weighs 1 pound. She cuts each block into fourths. How many 1/4 pound pieces of butter does the chef have? So how many rectangles are we going to draw? How many blocks of butter does she have? 5. So draw your 5 rectangles. Okay, and how many pieces is she going to cut it into? Look, your fraction says 1/4. So we're going to divide each one into 4. You can put a line down the middle. And then a line between each of those, and you should get pretty even sized pieces. They're not going to be perfect because we're not measuring. So divide each of your rectangles into 4 pieces.
This is starting.
Okay, so we divide our rectangles into 4. Now multiply the number of fourths in each block by the number of blocks. So how many fourths do we have in each block? We have 4 pieces. And by the number of blocks, how many blocks did we have?
5
equals 20. So the chef has 20 1/4 pound pieces of butter. 20 1/4 pound pieces of butter. Number 2. What if the chef had 3 blocks of butter and cut the blocks into thirds? How many 1/3 pound pieces of butter would the chef have? So now we're cutting our blocks into thirds, and we still have 5. So how many pieces would he have?
15.
So he would have
15 1/3 pound pieces.
Oh, I'm sorry, I read that wrong. What if the chef had 3 blocks of butter and divided them into thirds? Not 5 blocks.
9.
3 blocks of butter,
9.
yes, and divided them into thirds. He would then have 9 pieces of butter. So 9 1/3 pound pieces. 9 1/3 pound pieces. Okay, we're going to continue the Sharon Show. I'm just going to put up a thing. Number 2 says, what if the chef, or 3 says, Jason has 2 pizzas and he cuts them into fourths. This is number 3, right? He has 2 pizzas and he cuts them into fourths. How many 1/4 size pizzas of pizza does Jason have? 8. So 8 1/4 size pieces of pizza. And if we look at number 4, Thomas makes 5 sandwiches that he cuts into thirds. He makes 5 sandwiches. This is number 4. 5 sandwiches and he cuts them into, what did they say? Thirds? Well, that wasn't very even thirds. So we have 5 sandwiches. They each have 3 pieces, so he has 15 1/3 size sandwich pieces. Okay, let's just talk about number 5. Holly cuts 3 pans of brownies into 8s. 3 pans of brownies into 8s. Does somebody need a diagram?
20 is 24.
Whoops, whoa. Equals 24 1/8 size pieces. 1/8 size pieces of brownie.